So I'm gonna, as we talk about this, I'm gonna pass this around just so we can hear it because there's a couple spots last time where like Austin's talking or somebody's talking and you can't really hear anything. So just in case we need it. Um, do y'all want to?
Bryson, why'd you move away from me?
Well, I was trying to fit into the frame. Trying to make it more even.
So do y'all want to revisit the little bit of stuff we talked about last time briefly, or do y'all want to just pick up where we left off?
Maybe like that may be good for the video, like a brief, like very short summary.
Okay.
Recap.
So we started just briefly talking about rib flare stuff last week, like how to identify super basic stuff and just little beginning phases of how to get some type of correction in it if you feel you need to. You want to use, who wants to be an example? For where one of you, were you a rib flare person last year or no? I think I was the worst one.
Yeah, you said I was an interesting case.
Yeah, you were weird, that's right. So when, just in terms of rib flare, if we care about it, like I think the only thing we should care about is if you see somebody who's got like mine, like this type of like big popped up extra flary ribs. It's like every time they go to do something they're just mountainous riblets poking through. Like
Like yours?
I mean mine's not great, my lower back kills me all the time. So if they're doing crunch stuff and it's like all you see is like ribs poking through, they do shoulder presses. And every time they go to push forward, you just see big pumping ribs. Like we got to do something about it, whether they have pain or not. Something's compensating where it doesn't need to. So just that's what we kind of looked at from a general standpoint. I think I only showed y'all the one ball thing last week, right? Just to kind of recompress the front.
Austin showed us the laying on the...
Yeah, and then laying on the pad. I'll just show the ball thing today because we're going to feed off of that and do a few different variations of that, getting like rotational motion with that same rib flare correction in mind because I feel like that's really like butchered a lot of the time. So who wants to demo the ball thing? Cool. So we'll go through this pretty quick because I want to spend most of this time on this rolling stuff today. So this is basically a dead bug, but we're doing it specifically to make sure that we don't cause like extra posterior tilt of the pelvis, and we don't want to crunch the abs themselves. Like I'm not trying to get anybody to try to crunch. We're just trying to facilitate obliques in the ab wall to just naturally work while the spine stays elongated on the back. Because if you're rib flaring, if you're real compensated here, lots of extension, you're just swapping compression here for compression on the back. So we just need to make sure that we get the back side to stay long as the front side can compress. Otherwise, you're just fighting tension with tension or just compressing your people more. So, you remember what you did last time here?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, so legs are up, knees are a little soft.
right?
Yeah, but the
Kinda
legs are pretty long though. Just where you at? Yeah, it should be good. So, there's really just two big cues on this.
But before we started, you were telling us to kind of find the PSI.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. So, whenever you guys, I think whether you're doing this for rib correction or you're just trying to get better core with people on the ground with whatever you're doing, even if they're just doing like a kettlebell arm bar and rolling on the ground, just a floor chest press or anything that's supine on the ground, if you get somebody to find the PSIS on the back and the space between the shoulder blades touching the floor and just get them to rest on those points, that should encourage a little bit of elongation and bias a little bit more deeper ab wall engagement without getting too fancy. So y'all know what the PSIS is? Yes? Yeah? No? So just to keep it simple, it's the two like bony knobs on the back of the pelvis back here. They feel kind of prominent. You should be able to lay on your back on the ground, tilt your pelvis back and forth and feel them. If you're not sure, then I'm going to use you as an example in a second so you can feel it. So just if you're laying down, Bryson, you got it? Okay. So find the PSIS on the back.
With my legs flat.
No, you got to do it bent so you can really find it. Otherwise, you're probably going to cheat.
I got it, yeah.
So you're going to feel it the most with legs straight up in the air. You're going to find it the easiest probably with knees bent. Most people will struggle with legs straight up at first. So starting point, feel bony stuff on the back of the pelvis. And then the space between the shoulder blades, Bryson, go ahead and try to find that with just the ball up in the air. So when I say space between the shoulder blades, not scapula, but like the rhomboid muscle stuff on the ground. So to feel that on the ground, you're going to have a little bit of natural kyphosis, a little bit of natural flexion in the upper back. Some people will have to very lightly push their sternum into the ground and reach to feel that. But less is more. You're not trying, like if you were to like crunch up to find that spot, you're not trying to crunch. If your head stays on the ground and you just reach real hard, like real hard. Like if you look like this, chances are you're going to get real trappy and you're cheating your way around it. So there's a sweet spot where the shoulders are just free floating in space to just bring awareness into that upper back rhomboid stuff on the ground. And that's tricky for some people. So from here, PSIS touching, upper back stuff touching. Go ahead and throw your legs up. And then, yeah, get these two to meet each other. Get your hands on top of the ball here. So you don't posterior tilt the pelvis as you do this. Just a 3 out of 10 effort. Ball or legs and hands squeeze the ball together. And all we're trying to do is get the person to feel ab wall engage all the way around. And the back staying long on the ground and loose. And just an easy inhale, easy exhale. If you have somebody with like chronically tight psoas that always gives them a trouble, I didn't say this last time, touch your feet together and widen your knees. So click your heels together, like whole foot, Scott, just because I see you doing it. Widen your knees more, like that. So Bryson, feet flat together, like inside edges of the feet touch, and then wider knees. Yeah, like that. And then if you compress that way, it's going to feel different in the core, but you don't cheat through your psoas the same way. And then you just have somebody breathe. Short rounds here, and this is just to get them to feel what it feels like to have a long torso without the back cheating and coming along for the ride. Cool? So this is like phase 1, step 1, base 1, just whether that's just trying to get deeper core, stronger core, teaching them to like not use their back and everything. Like most user-friendly place to start.
So if I don't feel my PSIS when my legs are up,
Yeah.
should I bring my legs down a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I found I was like up a little bit too high.
Yeah.
But when I bring it down, I can feel it a little more.
So a lot of people, when they try to bring the legs straight up, they're gonna butt tuck their way up. And if you posteriorly tilt your way up, you're just slamming your lumbar in the spine. And at that point, you're just encouraging spinal flexion to get it. That's not elongation, you're just cheating your way through it. Because the spine should have a little S-curve through it. So in a perfect world, if someone really has good curvature, PSIS or pelvis is on the ground, the lumbar is very slightly like off the ground or feather touching the ground, and then the upper back is heavier on the ground. So you get that little subtle S-curve. And you should be able to do that without your back screaming at you. Once they do this for a few weeks, they can. Usually it only takes about 3 weeks, and then they can do it. Like locked out knees is a little different, but pretty damn straight you should be able to do. Does anybody want to try it to feel it before we start rolling? You want to try it? Okay. I don't know if I started recording this. Okay, we're good. Okay, so I know you have more arch in your back naturally, so this might be tricky for you.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
So,
Also, I always feel like one PSIS is more like, well, connected.
yeah. So, just knowing you got going on what you got going on, take a second to just rock the pelvis back and forth and tilt, and really try to find the most prominent, what could be PSIS you can find, wherever that might be. So from here, just so you can feel it, crunch up a little bit, just so I can get my hand underneath you. So I want you trying to feel for like this meaty stuff on both sides, touching, just touching.
Just with the arms like this.
Yeah, and you're not trying to like super reach, because you're just cheating, and you're definitely not pinning shoulder blades back, because you're just cheating.
Yeah.
So if you think you got PSIS and you think you got that upper rhomboid touch, whatever we're going to call that, you can just softly bring the legs up. And then the ball is like right above the kneecaps. Hands are on the top. And then like 3 out of 10 effort, just easy squeeze. And all we're trying to do is just feel the ab wall all the way around. Easy? Or easy enough?
Yeah, easy enough.
Okay.
I
So,
feel like I got it.
so I want you to keep your feet touching and then widen your knees a little.
Touching, widen.
Yeah. So we're just like externally rotating the thighs a little bit is what we're trying to do. And then lightly disengage the ball squeeze with arms and legs, and then re-engage it arms and legs symmetrically just to feel it maybe engage a little different.
Okay.
And this ball is probably a little too big for you. Let's bring your legs down just a hair, like right there. That might be a better spot.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So this is very, like, just like I said before, less is more. Like when you're teaching this to somebody, you can't fight tension with tension. If somebody's lower back is already a problem and likes to kick in on everything, like they might do this at a 2 out of 10 effort for like 2 inhales and exhales and be done. Otherwise, they arch off the ground and they just start fighting compression with compression.
Do you prep them at all before you do this with them?
I'll just show them and then do it. If they've got really nasty stuff, then that's where like we get rehab minded, and then I'll figure that out. Like I might do a psoas release first. I might like do something to trigger or like release a deep glute capsule, like a posterior capsule first. If their lats are like ungodly tight, I'll do something to get that loose. If they're like me, where they're crazy rib flare and they're all here, then I'll try to get the ribs to internally rotate a little bit first. But usually that can correct all of it if you just cue it right and give them a chance to get used to it. Cool? So we'll briefly go through just a simple progression of this. Again, this is like all dead bug basic. It's just the way it's cued is just a little different. I just want y'all to see it and then just have that in your mind as we go through the next thing. So Holly, I'm just going to keep using you.
Okay.
So same position you were just in.
All right.
So just go ahead and find the legs up with that little external rotation in the thighs. You have your feet touching. And then we're going to bring the ball a little higher up on your legs, or just a little higher up in general, right there. Okay, let me know when you got it.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so part 1 for this, if you're really trying to like get the most out of this, you'd start with just learning to lower the leg by itself, 1 leg at a time. So if she's gonna lower her leg, if we're really trying to get like a psoas to learn to let go and an ab wall to stay engaged, then she has to keep this external rotation of the leg as it drops. So you inhale through the drop and you exhale as it comes up. And again, it's slow, very picky here as you do this. And I think I want you to try to get a little more, no, I think you're good, Holly, never mind. And the big thing on this is you cannot lose that PSIS on the back at all. If the pelvis shifts like whatsoever, you're losing what we're going for. And most people are gonna fail at this, and most people will probably only go about a third of the way down or halfway down at first. And as like simple as it might be, like this is just, it goes so far with so many things if you can get somebody to just learn how to master this for a couple weeks. Their
Yep.
lunges get better, squats get better, rows get better, presses get better.
How many weeks would you do the first 4 days?
Rotation kind of.
Part of it.
I mean, I would say one to 3 weeks for each one, but that can overlap. So like I'll teach the first one for a week and then work the first one in the leg drop the second week. And then I'll probably get rid of the ball hold entirely on week 3 and just focus on the drops. And then we'll get into like alternating arm and leg. And by the time I do that, we're gonna start rolling like I'm gonna show y'all in a second. So the next one is just like standard dead bug alternation you've probably seen before.
With the legs kind of straight like they were.
Yep, you're still in that little external rotation. The feet are touching at the top. You find your compression of legs and arms together. Super picky on your pelvis and upper back. Now let's say right knee, left hand. hold their compression, inhale, and be very picky that nothing moves except the arm and the left leg as you come down. And if you lose your back arch or if you lose your pelvis at all, that's as low as you go. And the exhale is solely responsible for bringing you up.
Try to activate the psoas with the external rotation, or try to not activate it?
Eccentrically lengthen it, so that way it'll train itself to,
So that looks like an NKT psoas test.
yeah. And it's gonna, I mean, you're using it for sure. And that's where, like, if you feel like your back is pulling a lot, then you're not ready for this yet. Your abs should feel like the bulk of what's working.
They're on fire.
Beautiful.
I mean, I find that psoas is weak all the time. So it's
Yeah.
perfect.
I feel like it's just weak and stuck on everybody, man. It just, and I'll be honest, I don't really know if it's worth trying to like release it with your hands first or just train it. I think those people who are super tight and knotted up everywhere probably just will benefit from hands-on first. I feel a lot of people get really tight psoas stuff in the front because the posterior capsule is really tight. So if you can just get the back of the glute to open up and like stretch the absolute hell out of it, that usually works a little better right off the bat. But it's different for everybody. Cool?
So what do you like to do for stretching
The back of the capsule?
Yeah.
We'll save that for later because I want to focus on this first. To be continued. If we have time at the end, I'll show you the capsule stretch, but for right now,
I know like that one David Gray thing, like kind of like hinging, like the, back.
the standing one or the one where you're on your knees?
Kickstand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That.
we'll save that when we get into hingy pelvis stuff. But I got another one that's just a simple stretch. Okay. Good here? Nothing too fancy, right? At least nothing too wild. So if we take the same principle as the PSIS upper back, long spine, braced on the front, all that stuff we just talked about, and treat it, now we got to take that into rolling. So when we roll, so Holly, I'm going to try to just talk you through this.
Sure.
If you feel like being a ninja. Okay, so let's use this ball, TJ.
My own size, thank you very much.
Okay, what do you have which side of your core do you feel like is weakest? Or do you know?
No,
Okay. So I'm just going to pick one. Okay. So let's say the right knee and right hand are going to hold the ball. Now you're going to start with more of a traditional dead bug 90-90 knees and hips position here. So the left foot is on the ground. And I'm going to have you bring it out a little longer, Holly. Right there. That's plenty. So from here, you're still feeling for PSIS on the ground. We're still feeling for both sides of the upper back on the ground.
Yeah,
This arm is going to lay off to the side on the ground.
kind of like here.
Yep. So we're only compressing the hand and the knee enough to feel like the right ab wall engage, just noticeably. Some people have to squeeze real hard, some people won't. Got it? Okay. So we're letting exhalation or breath work mechanics create the rotation. So if she exhales and moves to the left, that should internally rotate the system. And if she inhales to come back, that will externally rotate the system. Y'all don't need to know all the nitty-gritty details as to what's going on there yet, but
What'd you say?
so right here, so she's just holding the compression for abs, just to feel it. If she takes an inhale right here and then exhales as she rolls over, that is internally rotating the entire system. Organs, left ribs, right ribs, it's all internally rotating together to produce that spin for the most part. As she inhales, that expansion of external rotation should roll her back. If you get that right, every vertebra has micro rotation coming through it. It's segmental rotation even though it doesn't look like it. So now if we use the leg, it's a little bit smoother through the roll. So Holly, I want you to go ahead and take an inhale here. Exhale to roll over and kind of push the ball over as you exhale. As you inhale, use the left leg to push into the ground. And that should be a softer roll.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I
Yes, because we don't want to be thuddy. You don't want to just flop over. So inhale to start, exhale, push the ball over and around. And then we're gonna actually pick the ball up a little and reach a little, so you roll a little more. Inhale, push the ground with the bottom leg and let the breath in the leg roll you. And it's a very different feeling as you go through that. It should be soft, but you should be able to feel your core working the whole time. And this is subtle. So when I think of, you can relax for a second if you want. So when I think of engagement on this and why I'm teaching this, like if somebody's back hurts when they just stand up and walk around for a long time, like they suck at moving. Like just, they suck at moving. They're not good at stabilizing. So I think of this exercise, and I'm just gonna be blunt. So the intensity here should be what you would probably think of as like a light jog intensity. Like you're not trying to manhandle your abs. You're not trying to brace aggressively. We're just letting the position and the breath do the movement, so that way it becomes autopilot. So it can just find this and learn this pattern when you're just regularly moving. Cool?
Kind of like a less forced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less is more.
More integrated, less forced.
Yeah.
So is this a progression or is this just a different exercise?
Progression. It is a progression. For some people, both legs and arms straight up is going to flare their back up and they can't quite do it, but they'll be able to do this first. So that's where you kind of pick and choose, like you got to guess and check.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of people who they can't do the first one for like a week, but we start with this and this lights them up. And then when they go back to the other one and then they come back to this is super easy, and then they learn how to relax here while they make the other one harder. And they kind of feed each other in different ways.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I think for me,
That didn't make
I
sense.
felt a little bit in my back, the two legs.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see how.
You want to try it?
Yeah.
TJ, I kind of want to see you do this. It's because your legs are so long. I know the leverage is going to be different.
All right.
Which side does your back talk the most?
The left side.
The left side? Okay, so hold it on the right. You'll do the same side Holly did.
What I do again?
So start by feeling for what could be PSIS stuff on the back, and then some kind of upper back stuff, that rhomboidy stuff. And tell you what, let's just start with like hips and knees at 90 degrees in the air.
Okay.
Both legs. So put your hand right on top. There you go. So you feel PSIS stuff, kinda? So just set the left foot down. So now you should still have both of those bony spots for the most part. So this arm is right off to the side. Your compression of hand and knee is like a 3 out of 10, maybe 4 out of 10. And I want you to really use your breath to roll you. So inhale to start. Exhale, do not lose your ball compression as you roll over. And let the exhale really take you through. Pick the ball up a little bit, like up in the air, leg two, and then roll a little more because you're not rolling enough to there. Now inhale as you roll back. So I was just about to say, everybody's going to be different at first. You're just trying to stay as loose in the head as you can. Like if you see a lot of like neck binding, you're going to try to cue them out of it. Most people just need a couple AirX pads for a pillow, and then just let their head roll back and forth. If their neck doesn't bug them, don't even try to fix it. Just let them do it. Feel like you're feeling something there?
No.
No? You feel your core at all? Okay, so squeeze the ball harder. Now reach your right arm up in the air. Do you feel a little more core there?
A little bit. I feel a lot of.
Okay, so I want you to externally rotate your leg. There you go. Now if you look at your thigh just went out to the side a little bit. Well, let's just leave it there. Who cares? Let's see what happens. So if you add compression there now, does that feel a little more abby?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so remember, this is subtle. It's not just anything crazy. So hold that compression, and when you roll, you cannot lose any bit of that ab compression you feel. And then keep every bit of that ab compression as the left leg rolls you back with your inhale. So for you right now, it might just be more of a brain game and a control thing. So a lot of people actually aren't going to feel abs that much. They're just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. But if you watch their ribs, like when he rolled the first time, he rolled with like a rib that popped up and twisted over. So you rolled with your back on the first one. So you got to just, it's like a body awareness with this. And that's where like you cue the ground, log roll over, log roll back, feel your entire spine, your whole backside roll. And if they can feel that, they're probably going to be way better off on the roll. So I'm going to take this out of my pocket because ideally what this will compress to, which is where it gets kind of fun. Let's see. Hope I didn't just knock that off. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to set this here. It's not going to work. You want to just hold it close to me?
Yeah.
So I'm going to roll back and forth, so you may have to follow me a little bit.
Good. I like that.
So if you're starting, ideally what makes like, when you know you're going to get good motion out of this, like through the whole spine, and you know you're kind of done with it, you find your compression, feel it turn on, they roll, get a reach, come back, pass it, and it should feel pretty effortless, and you just go back and forth. The spine should not be compressing, the abs should be felt, and this is, you're just getting this like freedom of rotation and stability in the spine. And once somebody can really get this pretty easy, then I'm just going to take them off the ground. And that can be done in little bits and pieces. You don't really even need to be that picky with that. If you feel like somebody's strong enough, you don't have to keep doing that stuff, like those progressions. This is just if like going through the sequence, if somebody's just not getting out of their back, they're not controlling their ribs, and you just can't get them to get out of it, then these are your checkpoints. Cool? Cool. Questions? All right. So the site.
Something you start most people off with?
Yeah, I almost start everybody off with like that type of thing, and then get into more like harder side plank variations for deeper core, and then like pair those with just traditional stuff.
This is for people with
Rib flare, back pain, pelvis stability issues, basically anything that looks like pelvis to like collarbones isn't quite sitting right,
like Dan.
like Dan. Basically anybody who comes in the door. I pretty much have everybody do some form of this. So from there, to get a little spicier in the core, can I use you for the side plank thing?
Yeah.
That me and you did the other day?
Oh, yeah.
So this is just a progression for deeper abs. Like, again, that's like what we just did with the ball, that from all fours on your back to one side to rolling, that's just like decompressive, early relative motion strategy for getting the spine to let go and getting a stack, a basic stack. Like, we're not trying to be overly, like a lot of y'all probably won't even need to use that with your people, but if you have someone you're just like, I don't know why the hell this isn't getting better, that's what all that's for. What most people will probably be able to do is what Holly is about to do, which is just a side plank that we're just specific on hand and leg position to just force things to kind of do what they need to. So I want y'all to be able to see her hand over here. And then let's get the arms a little bit long, or the legs a little longer here, just by a little bit. So, do y'all know what the pizza form is? You heard of that?
Pizza?
Not the pizza form. The pizza form, the wiggly bone on the palm. So, this thing is like an amazing bony landmark for ground pressure when you're trying to get like shoulder, tricep, arm stability, strength, wherever you can in terms of like grounding. So a lot of people, when you go to like do push-ups or go to do handstands or even like a chest press or something like that, like they don't really know how to engage whatever they're pushing into. But if you can teach them to find the pisiform and then drive through that, it's a great way of teaching the nervous system like what the floor is. It's the same way when we're trying to teach like a deadlift, teach somebody how to push the floor with their feet. They get more out of it. So we're going to talk through that briefly. So if y'all want to, y'all can try this if you want. We can all do it. So you make a cup shape with your hand, and you put the cup on the ground. And then if you just spill the cup forward or spill the cup over, and then like maybe flatten the hand out a little bit you should be able to feel this little bit of pressure that goes into that palm bone. So if you do a side plank with a fist, or like a regular, like not thinking about your hand, and then do a side plank with that bone pushing in the ground, it's dramatically different in how it feels in the upper body. So if y'all want, we can just all go through it together real quick so you can feel it out. Y'all want to do that?
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Really?
So, let's say we're all on the right side, just so the cues match up. So the knees are like a lazy 90 degrees. Really, y'all can be wherever you want, but I'm gonna say lazy 90 degrees. And then, don't think about your hand at all. Just push up into a side plank. So all I want y'all to think of right now is hips in the air. Just everybody needs to be higher. None of y'all are high enough. Bryson, higher. Higher. TJ, higher. Scott, that's too high. So just think about your shoulder right now. How does your shoulder feel? Your elbow, your neck, all that. And then come down. So now we'll set up the exact same way, but when you go to set up, I'm going to talk you through the whole thing. Bring your knees up a little bit more. So make the cup shape with your right hand. Start to spill the cup in and try to find that little bit of pisiform or pinky side palm bone pressure, however you can find it. You all have to feel it. If you can't feel it, you have to figure out how to feel it. You may have to cup your hand more, you may have to flatten it out more, but you got to find that spot. Even if it's just the skin right there touching, you have to know that you can feel that on the ground. You got it? Yeah? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're lifting yourself up now from 2 points. One is the outside of the knee that's on the ground, and you're feeling for like a bony, like a thigh bone down there, femur head or femur condyle pushing the ground, and then that palm and elbow push together to lift you up. And y'all can just come up when you're ready. So TJ, you got to find more of the, yeah, like that.
I think this is better.
So when you're up, if you just focus on pushing the hand in the ground more and more and more, you're going to feel something wrap around your arm up to your scap, and it starts to grab a little different. So when you feel that, that's your whole arm like actually properly supporting you up. Most of us, when we go to lift up, we just kind of compress the hell out of the joint in one spot. But if you can get elbow and hand to drive together, you get a 360-degree engagement around the shoulder. It should feel different.
Yeah. Feels different.
I felt it more in my obliques.
Yeah, and it should give you more oblique.
Oh, it's so much
Not
better
so
on the
much
left
in my
side.
up here.
Does it feel a difference? Small.
It's hard for me to put more weight there
Yeah.
than my elbow.
So
It's really hard.
what?
All my weight goes to my elbow. My hand feels so light. It's like
So if you're all in the elbow, then you're probably like too laid back, and you actually need to roll into it.
if I
And-
do that,
and-
I just feel my tricep.
That's what I want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but so that's simply that's what you're going for. If you feel the tricep, then you're probably in a good spot.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, when they go to come up, they come up and they're like, the joint is like translated forward, or it's like stacked nasty. But if you get the tricep, it literally just
I feel the shoulder decompressing
right. That's exactly what it should do.
versus the other version seems more compressed.
Yeah. In a little tiny zone there, it does put the scap in a better position on the ribs also.
Yeah, it does.
And it just decompresses that whole thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
So a lot of people, when they side plank, they just shoulder compress. They don't side plank.
Yeah, that's never really
true.
a detail that's highlighted often.
So like
Just the
we,
whole,
all that ball stuff we did can be skipped for a lot of people if you can get them to do this right off the bat. But for some people, their just shoulders not quite strong enough to do a real side plank, so you just can't do it. Cool?
Good job,
Yeah,
Paula.
I'm so
Good
much
job.
better on my left than my right. My right is like a weakness.
just from the knees.
So, just while we're doing this, have you guys, I'm sure y'all have seen people who have like, they look very flat. Like if you look at someone from the side, they're very like narrow up high, like from sternum to upper back, from like straight through the top. Like they're kind of wide around the ribs a little, but they're really, really narrow up high. You know what I'm talking about? maybe? No?
Like they kind of have like they're pumping.
Yeah, like they're some of those people may be rib flare people. Some of them may just be kind of bodybuilder style build. They're usually just wider people. They don't. It's like the ribs are lifted. It's like a chest looks like it's lifted, but if you really look, it's actually like it's compressed up high. And then it's actually they've got a lot of like compression in their upper back. Rather than like a nice curve, it's really sunken in. So if you see somebody, and if they don't have a problem, you might not need to worry about it. But some people have really nasty neck and shoulders, and they're really, really compressed up high. So that side plank, if you cue it right, will brace the sides on both sides, and then make the body expand anterior to posterior, and create a bubble to fill it back out. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Pretty simple, but it works really well. So I'm going to use you again, because this is exactly what me and you did the other day.
Okay.
So we'll do the same side plank. So you have the cup, you have the pisiform elbow, you lift through the knee and the arm, just like we talked about. You got to let the top leg rest as much as you can. So from here, this is all little stuff that goes a long way. So if the hand is pushing decently hard, the whole ground side ab wall and obliques is engaged. I need you to try to lift up a hair more, like through your, like push here more. There you go. So now your arm is going to come at me. This is at 120 degrees.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we're at 120 degrees of shoulder flexion, and you hold, and you feel like you're holding like a pile of feathers on top of your wrist, and you reach at like 1% effort, and your eyes look at your hand. If you hold this and think about inhaling into the back of your chest bone, gentle, silent. Exhale, gentle, silent. And repeat this. What you should feel at some point is this very subtle, like expansion of mid-chest to upper back. And it's very gentle, but it takes some reps. And most people breathe too hard to feel it. Your knees need to come up more, Scott. And your hips need to come up more. Yeah. So
I can definitely feel that.
you can feel it?
Yeah.
So if you don't feel it, then you're too upright and you need to roll forward a little. You're good. Did you feel it? Kind of. Yeah, your position was a little off.
It's like that feeling when you take like a really good deep breath, but you're not really trying to take a deep
Yeah.
breath. Like it just kind of expands like that
Yeah.
by itself.
Yeah. So I didn't talk to y'all about this yet. So do you know what's wrong with like if you see somebody with big rib flare stuff, like again, this isn't a problem, this is just what we're talking about. If you see ribs that pop up a lot, just to quiz you guys, do you know what part of the core is working too much and what's not working at all? I'm thinking front right now. So if you're really popped up in the front, you got the big bulges here. What do you think is overworking? So your rectus abdominis,
Yeah, that's what
your six pack in the middle.
even though it's not working effectively in that.
It's working it's
Yeah.
poorly working hard.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So if this is up, this thing is yanking down to give you some support. The obliques aren't doing anything to hold these down. So you end up really compressed in the middle, like anterior portion here, and that almost always feeds directly into like the erector compression and like thoracolumbar compression on the backside. So if we can get the obliques to kick, that'll let the rectus abdominis chill out, and then all that stuff settles in place. So just the only reason I say that is because if you again have somebody with weird, we'll just say weird posture in their body, they all over the place, they can't really stay stacked, their ribs go one way, their pelvis goes another. If you're having them do lots of straight line crunches or things that are very like flexion based and not a lot of rotation based, you could be pulling them deeper and deeper into that.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you have someone with like a hiatal hernia or something going on,
So I see a lot from this. What it seems, from what I've learned and what I've seen, is that a lot of hiatal hernias could potentially be resulted from or kind of like similar, like happened kind of because of that overworking of the middle and not enough support over here. Could be. Not always, but it's like weird. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times now where it just seems to be very much correlated. And it's like some of these people too, if you see somebody who's just like Meg, for example, if you try to tell her to belly breathe, it doesn't work very well. So if you don't know if someone's like rib flare person or what you should do, if someone's on the ground and you watch them breathe and then you try to say like breathe into your belly and they can't like at all, they probably need to be trained like somebody with rib flare stuff. Because at that point their ab wall is so rigid it's not moving. And then you got to figure out what that is. And like for someone like that, you may need to actually release the abs, like lay on a ball and work the front, which this will like make people want to throw up sometimes. But just be ready for that. But sometimes if you just like take one of these balls and lay on it for just a couple seconds and then have them do like something you think would trigger obliques, if they don't feel a difference, like tell me. Because there should be a dramatic difference in what they feel. And it's really weird.
Like kind of simmering this down a little bit.
Yeah.
So that these can actually.
Yeah. And it's really weird how much it helps. Like some people you can just get them to like just rub their ZOA, like the xiphoid, like get on the tip of the xiphoid and just strum it. It feels terrible. And then do a side plank and all of a sudden there's like an oblique that you didn't feel before. And it's kind of weird how much it works. Cool. Questions?
Rub the xiphoid and side plank.
Yep.
Got it.
And you fix everybody. Cool. Is there anything that y'all can think of, like people you're working with right now that have like really weird upper body mechanics that you think could be rib related or could be back related that you want to talk about?
I have a new client who has scoliosis and her right side is super compressed and her left side is like out to here.
Cool. What are you going to do about it?
I just started working with her like 2 days ago, so it's
Okay.
a process. But we're working on her upper body strength, and in addition to the breathing exercises that we've been doing, not just from me, but from PT, like kind of keeping a towel underneath when she's getting like a pinching sensation, like just to give this side a little bit more support.
Okay.
And that seems like
Is she like rotated to the right as well?
a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's as obvious like at her shoulders
Okay.
as it is just like down here.
Okay. Someone want to grab the door? I don't recognize them. So, you guys know what a bear crawl is, right? Reverse bear crawl. Can I teach y'all a really spicy way to make a bear crawl awesome? Cool. Who wants to be a guinea pig? Holly? Bryson?
I don't hate being a guinea pig.
Okay. So this is like another progression of kind of everything that we've been talking about. It's just you use this as you need to. So let's go all fours. And then you're going to be on your elbows.
Terrible.
Okay. So for some people, this is just like they're terrible. They're going to not be able to do this. So we're going to try to go through this quick. First, let's cup the hands. Thinking of the same bony pressures here. I want you to think of your elbow to your hand as like a foot in the ground. So all of that is going to end up being pressed at the same time. From here, your knees are their own like pressure point on each side.
Okay.
So to get this engagement right, if you're Holly, you're going to sag your back to the ground and relax everything. So you feel your scaps kind of drop, or your mid-back drops, your spine drops, everything drops. Push through your hands and elbows and your knees at the exact same effort and slowly lift your spine back up. Nope, just your spine. Just your spine.
Okay, so all 4 points at the same effort.
Yep. And you're only lifting up to where you feel a full, subtle core engagement. And if you don't feel the lower abdominals working, then you're not pushing your knees enough. Let me know if you feel that, Holly.
I think I've got it.
Okay.
Knees straight down.
Straight knees are straight down, which is tricky for some people. Cool? You think you got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so from here,
It was last words.
you are going to try to pick up your right knee and left elbow by exclusively pushing the other limbs just into the floor.
Do I keep my hand on the ground?
Yes. Well, no, I mean the elbow that comes up, the hand comes up with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew this.
So
I'm
it's-
doing my right knee and my left hand?
Yeah, we'll say right knee and left hand push down to lift up the other two.
Oh.
And then those need to work like a hydraulic press to lift you, and then you take a step back. It's a little baby step, and then you put those on the ground. And then re-engage hand and elbow, and that other knee you just put down. Those press into the floor to lift you up and move you back.
Whoa.
And then they press into the floor, up and back.
Wow.
Different, right? Want to try it?
Come on, TJ.
Okay. You should try it. It'll take 90 seconds. Maybe 20, maybe 40. So knees a little closer together. Okay, so scoot your elbows forward a little. Okay, so pinky side palm bone to elbow, that's solid pressure. And then the knee is going to be its own thing. So sag your back to the floor. Is that as low as you can sag? Okay, so this and this push the ground at the exact same effort, at the exact same time to float your spine in the air. And if you didn't feel your lower abs do anything, then you didn't use your legs enough to push the floor. There should be a subtle, like, lower core engagement if you find your legs in the ground.
Yeah.
Got it? So let's say this arm and this leg are going to push into the ground
Yeah.
to float the other two off the ground.
Wait, does this knee come up or no?
No. This one's the ground force, that's ground force, and then those two float. You move like an inch backwards. And you take a step.
Oh.
And then you just reset. Now the ones you just put down are the ones that go on the floor. Hand, elbow, knee. You float up and move back.
Yeah, that's cool. There's my core.
That was 2 reps.
That was 2. So, like, again, just another progression. All the ball stuff we did, the side plank stuff we did, some people are strong enough that you can just cue them into something like that bear crawl, and you can check all of those boxes of the other lower level drills right off the bat. I just, like, that one's one of my, I try to use that early on with people, and if they can't do it, then I just backtrack a little bit. But it's fun, it's different, it gets them crawling, it gets a little locomotion. The only reason I really don't do that with people is if all they feel is their neck, like, go nuts. No? Mostly core on you, yeah? Yeah. Cool. Cool. In a weird way, you can actually use that position, the bear crawl, like if you just lift on all fours but you don't pick a limb up, have them hold that core engagement and then turn their head as they inhale and exhale. You can disassociate neck tension from core. It's like a little bit of a therapeutic way of getting somebody out of their neck if the initial position doesn't piss off the neck right off the bat. Questions?
That's nice.
Cool? Take whatever piece you want and run with it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
For sure. Any of y'all have any other questions? Anything you want to talk about?
I mean, it's more like selfish for the client. I don't know if it'll apply to more people than that, but
Okay, what do you got?
I just have I got someone that I feel like I need, like he's got a lot of things that I need to talk about.
Yeah, I just realized I haven't moved that around at all.
He's very so I don't know if you see him. He's a kid come in on Saturday to see me.
Yeah.
But his pelvis is very anterior pelvic tilt, and his ribs really come out a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess I feel like they will work with me for a while as long as I like tell him that he needs it. But I just need to find like ways for buy-in, I guess, to be like, this is. I mean, I see what's wrong, but I don't know how to communicate, like, you know, as far as that, you know.
So, I mean, just tell them what you see.
Yeah.
If you can tell, like, you know, you've got a lot of flare here, you have a lot of tilt here, and, you know, there's potential compression of the back, and I mean, what you see on the table, you need to have them probably do something that translates to like regular motion. Like if you watch him squat and he can't squat very low at all, or he goes to touch his toes and he just can't forward fold very much at all, like that's a good sign of like there's just too much compression on the back side or like the front of the hips. We just got to get some of that out and just tell them what you see and what you want to make better, and just find there's the problem, here's the solution. And just, I would say that as simply as you can. If they ask more questions, by all means, give them more information. And then just tell them, we'd start by trying to get the spine a little longer, decompress you. We're gonna need to take some time to build the core up and get the obliques to fire better. We're gonna need to open up some space in the back of the hips, and you can just say those things, even if you're not really sure right in that moment what you're gonna do, but you can at least have the checkpoints of things you want to get to move better. And with a little kid like that too, I mean, a lot of them, it's just, is he in a bunch of pain?
He had pain. He had pain like before he saw me, and then I saw him for 2 sessions. I needled him the first session, and did some like kind of PRI hamstring stuff with him, and what else did I do? Just some his glutes were kind of weak, and back kicking in anytime he would try to activate it. But just did that stuff. He said he feels a lot better now. And so last session they were like, dude, we still need to see you. And I was like, yeah, because we still have like stuff to work on. But I need to find certain things to point out to be like, this is specifically what we're working on. Yeah.
And I mean, I would just like kind of what we talked about that. Just what things you would go to, like if it's core, if it's more capsule space, if it's okay, now you're out of pain on the table, you're out of pain when you're walking, but we need to make you stronger and pain-free. We need to teach you how to pick things up without bad patterns and stuff like that. Just more real-world examples that can help. And however you really want to word that. But like most parents especially, they just want to know that there's something being worked on. Because as soon as their kid says, like, I feel better, usually they're just going to stop. Unless you tell them otherwise. So, I don't know. Did I answer your question? Kinda.
Yeah. So like, I mean, a couple of things you can do is like we've gone over like the toe touch test, right?
Yeah.
So if this toe touch test is bad, that would mean that there's a lot of compression on the backside.
Yeah. Usually, if you can't touch your toes, you're looking for a couple things. But if someone can't touch their toes, usually you're going to see some type of flat spine. It's just compression. Typically, you give somebody back their obliques and you teach them how to breathe into the back of their ribs. That usually opens up pretty fast. If their toe touch improves, but they still can't get very low, then you're looking at the pelvis. Why is the back of the hip not fully letting itself open up for you to go forward more? And then that would be like, and that's where you take the toe touch to a squat. And if they can't drop into a squat, they probably don't have good capsule space for the most part. And that's just a simplified way of looking at that.
He's pretty mobile.
Yeah.
But he's doing like kind of jitsu type stuff.
Yeah.
And he's very small frame.
Okay.
But has like a lot of range of motion.
Okay. So I mean, most kids are pretty mobile, so you probably don't need to focus on like range of motion as much as just start loading them.
Right.
So like teaching that kid how to do like that, like a two-legged version of that, like David Gray hip hinge.
Yeah.
To open up the back of the hip and feel the length, like that could go a long way.
Yeah.
Teaching him how to, do a standing like one arm shoulder press or a chest press while staying really stacked in his torso can go a long way. Give him progression, give him some strength, show everybody that he's getting stronger and moving through, and then you have more stuff to work on.
Yeah.
You can keep him as a client, you can establish value with the parents, and just keep helping him move forward. Cool. I feel like there was something else I thought of halfway through that, and then I forgot about it. But anything else, guys?
Where's Shay? Is she out of town?
Yeah, she's out of town.
Almost as simple as like, yes, we were able to take Big out of pain in a couple of sessions, but if we don't continue to do some more on this,
Yeah.
you're going to be back here
Yeah.
as soon as like you encounter something that kicks this back off again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, pain is just a red flag something is wrong. That means, pain can come and go any given day. So, just because like you're not hurting anymore, good, your quality of life is better. But that doesn't mean we've addressed the problem. like at all. So, and if they're not sure, just be like, look, that's where you like have the parent maybe like really tell them what you're doing while you're doing it. You know, we're doing this because this, like we're doing these core exercises for this. I'm cueing his breath this way for this. Whatever you're comfortable with, you know, don't put yourself in a position where you're going to get asked questions where you might not know the answer to, or like try to feel like you're just being extra wordy for no reason. Just keep it simple. No matter what, you probably know more than they do by like 20 times over. So, and just talk to them. Cool. All right. Everybody good?
What?
Everybody good?
Yes. That's good. Thank you.
Cool.
We're all gonna be geniuses.
I want to get more into like pelvis stuff next week with the rib stuff. Like start getting into like standing, maintaining a stack standing, maintaining a stack like half kneeling. Maybe a little bit of hinge next week if we have time. But I wanted to like get off the ground and get out of this super base mode and get into like how do you keep it with a shoulder press? How do you keep it with a chest press? How do you keep it in a row without it compensating somewhere else? But like just, you know, keep moving forward just so you can see it in all different ways. Cool? All right, break.